With the Dow Jones Money Report.
20 minutes before the top of each hour during the KZIM KSIM Morning News Watch.
Please, may we have your attention? The KZIM KSIM morning meeting is now hitting your airwaves.
Stand by, everybody.
Yes, your favorite radio personality, Fawn Reagan, hosts.
We're on in 5.
Pick up a phone.
So what are you waiting for? Feel free to pick up that phone and call in with questions or comments. Dial 335-5512 or 1-800-TALK-960. And by the way, it's a free call from your Verizon wireless cell phone by touching star 960. The KZIM KSIM morning meeting begins
And QID.
now.
How do you attract the love you want? Love is just a word until you find someone who gives it definition. Those are the words of Michelle Dupree. She is the author of Attract the Love You Want, Romance Issues from A to Z. She joins me now on the live line, an author from Missouri out of St. Louis. Hi, Beth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Excellent. So, attracting the love you want, I think, Beth, and you can tell me if you agree or not, but I think the one thing almost every human being on the planet wants is to absolutely be loved for who they are.
That's exactly correct, and that's why God designed it in the first place. It's just as basic as breathing. Everybody needs air to live.
Yeah, and I think we in America are far more romantic than we're given credit for. I know other cultures like the French or the Italians get more credit for being romantic, but I think when you get to the lowest level of life, everybody loves to be romanced.
Oh, that's exactly right. And men tend to show romance differently than a woman does sometimes. They may not give you a gift, although I have received wonderful gifts from men, but they may do something as kind as trying to fix the sink for you, and that's their way of expressing love.
Exactly.
Just in a different way.
Mm-hmm. And some of them will talk about how sexy you are and think that's the biggest compliment they can give you. But guys, I'm here to tell you, although that is nice to hear, sometimes it's a turn off because that's not what we want you thinking about. We want you to love our mind.
Most men actually are attracted to a woman's attitude first, and then they notice the look or its intelligence. And it was brought up to me by someone, why do the nerdy women always win? Well, there's some kind of steaminess that the man recognizes in her that other people just aren't seeing.
Yeah, because if you notice, even the most beautiful, like Kim Kardashian and others, they end up getting married to these hot, hunky men, but they go through about 9-10 marriages in one lifetime.
And I watch her show, and I was very surprised to hear how shy she was the other day because I think she's gorgeous. I'd love to look like her for 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how shy she is off camera.
Right.
But she does put on that facade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why'd you write this book?
I wrote this book because I was in a domestically violent marriage, and I never would talk about it. And my pastor's wife said to me, why don't you talk about it? You could help so many people. And despite the fact that I had a diverse life with lots of adversity in it, I've managed to find forgiveness and happiness and love, and I just want to help other people.
And I think you probably will be when people go through your book, Attract the Love You Want, Romance Issues from A to Z. You do really tackle some of the biggest ones. I mean, some of the fictitious claims about men and women and what they're looking for and how to actually go about finding them. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, Beth. If you go to a bar and you meet someone at a bar, then you're stuck with someone who likes to be at a bar.
I don't feel like that's necessarily true. They may just be there for an evening with friends and, finding a woman somewhere else is their bag. They just may happen to meet you there and you click.
Okay, so and that goes both ways. I mean, they're finding you there too. Why are you there, right? So you have to take that into consideration. I asked you in pre-interview if you were in a relationship now, and you said yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell people kind of how you found a relationship? And again, I've been down this road similar to what you've gone through as well.
I was found on the internet on a dating site My headline was "Phlebotomist Needs New Stick." And it was kind of catchy, and Charles Breitweiser from New Jersey, he's an author and a poet, found me, and he contacted me. I hadn't read his bio yet, and he just charmed the pants off of me, and the next morning I read his profile, and I couldn't wait to talk to him again. So I was the one that made the effort to contact him back, and we talked for about 3 months. And it seemed like we just fell madly in love. We just had this, as teenagers say, this sick chemistry. And so I flew out there for a week, and we've kept in touch ever since. And we haven't been able to see each other due to some unfortunate circumstances with my family, but we are planning to see each other again soon, hopefully around Christmas time.
And I think what's neat about your situation is there are a lot of very successful relationships that happen from online dating because people are so busy that this is one outlet where you can get to know somebody a little bit before you actually meet them, but you take it slow.
Right. Pacing's very important, and actually I wrote a memoir about our love story called Meet Me at the Beach. I'm just looking to sell it. I actually wrote that story first, and then I wrote this one second, but I was told by my publishing company I had to pick which one I wanted to publish first. So I decided to do this, and if they like this book, then perhaps they can go on to, Meet Me at the Beach when it sells. And
I think so. But who should get this book? What age group are you after here?
Well, anybody who's looking to find a soulmate or have a love that lasts a lifetime, which pretty much can be any age, but I would say mostly 20 to 65.
Is that, there really is no 10-year generational gap here that is looking for love. It's everybody.
It's everybody, and the thing that makes me very sad, for instance, I was at a Chinese restaurant last week, and I saw this woman. She's very angry at her husband, and how you communicate with each other is just everything, and it's very important for people to think, would I like to be spoken to that way? And you should always find the positive in someone versus the negative. Positive equals positive, and then he just shut down and stopped talking to her, and they looked miserable.
Yeah.
And I used to do that. I wouldn't do it with my husband. He would do it with me, and I always vowed, you know what, I will never go through that again, and it's very upsetting to see people in their old age just have nothing to say to each other.
Yeah.
They've just had a lifetime of ticking each other off, and in this book, I talk about how to romance someone, how to communicate more effectively, how not to go at someone when you're angry, and speak to them calmly.
And knowing when to get out.
Yes, I talk about knowing when to leave, and I go into a full chapter on forgiveness, divorce, and domestic violence, and there are 16 questions probably a piece on whether to stay or whether to leave, and the signs of violence and where you can go, and who you can speak with and how therapy helps.
You know what I hear the most, Beth, though, from people who are trying to get back together because they loved each other, obviously. They got together. They loved each other for some reason or another, but little things that have happened along the way have busted up their relationship and broken them apart. But some say, well, I'll forgive you, but I'll never forget. I don't think it works that way. Either forgive and forget, or you don't stay together.
Well, and especially if you don't forgive and forget, you're really throwing that back in their face every day, and you're keeping them a prisoner. And by forgiving someone, you actually are sending the offender free, and you're sending you, the offended, free.
It takes a lot of emotional energy to stay mad at somebody.
It does, and really forgiving someone takes more effort than staying.
I agree. What do you think about, they say opposites attract? Is that true?
They do. I actually wrote a magazine article called Opposites Attract Recipe for Love, and if you consider love kind of like a recipe, you can always change your ingredients to get more or less of what you want in a relationship.
Is that hard to do, though?
No, not if you're a romantic person.
Okay, so let's say you're not a romantic person, but you really, really dig someone who is quasi-romantic or demands that you put wrong. How do you learn how to do that?
You just have to be creative. Like, my husband would travel a lot, and so when he would come home, I would do nice things to surprise him. And one of the things I did was I just wore nothing but an apron, and I answered the door with some Toll House cookies in my hand on a silver platter. He thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, as long as the neighbors aren't watching.
That's right.
That's good stuff. And if you're prone to cheating, it's probably best that you don't get in a relationship because you're probably going to hurt somebody real bad.
I feel like, a lot of people think that making love equals having love, and that if you don't have sex, then the love is gone. And so affairs are a matter of perceived lack of love. And I feel like if you wouldn't do something in front of your spouse, then don't do it alone with someone else.
Amen. Amen to that. Those late night phone calls where, the phone will ring and you pick it up and you're like, hello? Oh, it's my mom. Yeah, right. 2 o'clock in the morning, it's your mom. Who's dead? That's what I want to know. But if you're being sneaky, whether it's online, on the phone, or in person, you're doing something wrong.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I do
And
too.
just because you feel like you can be a trustworthy person doesn't necessarily mean that your mate is a trustworthy person. And just because, they may be a couple with you doesn't necessarily mean they're committed or exclusive.
Yeah. And
You have to set those boundaries up when you first date as to what's acceptable to you and what is not.
And a lot of people are like, well, I'm not the man that did that to you. It doesn't matter. If I was in a plane crash and every time I got on a plane, I'd wonder about a plane crash. You know what I mean? It's in your mind. It doesn't mean you take it out on that person, but you do watch for red flags.
You should always watch for red flags. I actually had many red flags before I got married, and I probably should have paid more attention to them than what I did.
Well, and the nice thing about it, though, Beth, is now you learned from your mistakes, so your next relationship will be even better.
And it is, so.
Yeah, good stuff. So how do you cope then while you're looking for love and you just can't seem to find it? How do you keep a good attitude in the search?
Well, attitude attracts a man first, like I said, and they like to banter back and forth, and mysterious is always intriguing to the opposite sex. And to me, timing's crucial. The right person's going to love you for who you are and where you are in your life, no matter when it happens.
Right.
And I feel like if you just aren't so obsessed with looking for it, it probably just falls right in your lap.
Well, and you hear that all the time. You'll find someone as soon as you stop looking. I found that to be true about 75% of the time because often, if you're holed up in your room and you're not going out anywhere ever, that's sure as heck not going to come knock on your door.
That's right.
Yeah. So where do you recommend people look for love, or should they look at all?
I have a roommate in college, and she told me she loved going to the store, and I laughed, and I said, I hate going to the store. And she said, I meet the most interesting men in the produce section. And I just laughed. I said, okay, well, take me to your grocery store then.
I never see men in the produce section. If I do, I guess I don't notice them.
I talked to a man in the produce section last week. I was telling him how lousy the peaches were, and he said, I found the best organic ones right over here in this pile.
Aw, well, that's awesome. Yeah, he wanted to show you his peaches.
Right. Come shake my tree, baby.
Yeah. And see, I'm extremely feisty, very confident, and very independent because I was forced to be this way by a marriage that went south. And I am exactly what I am, and I lay it all out forward. And I hear from men, even though some say they like feisty women, I think they like to tame feisty women, and that's just not going to happen.
You have to love somebody for who they are. And pretty much accept that. And unless a person wants to change, and then they have to change themselves.
Right. I always frown on people saying, well, we'll get married, they'll grow up, it'll change. No, it probably won't.
No, it'll probably just get worse.
Yeah. So, Beth, if they want to pick up your book, how do they find it? Where do they get it?
They can go on Amazon.com under Attract the Love You Want, Romance Issues from A to Z. And they can buy that on Amazon.com, or they could go to my website, strategicpublishinggroup.com /title /attract the